What's up, everybody? Alex from Columbus here. Welcome back to another video, and welcome to what I'm going to call the 2025 Vinyl Tag Reprise, or Reprise, depending on who you are. So, a little bit of background here. We won't go too much into it, but the big shout out goes to our boy Edwin, the pretty green vinyl guy, I think, who started this tag way back in, I think, December of 2024. For those who don't know about the vinyl tags sort of situation, for a very long time, for a number of years, Rob Walker Let the Music Play was sort of in charge of creating these questions, and then he sort of said, I am retiring from the question creation part of this tag. And so Edwin jumped in, and he's like, there's no rules here, fuck it, I'm going to create my shit. And he created some questions, and it came early, and then of course that like rubbed some people the wrong way, but it's also like if he would have waited, then somebody else would have just jumped in. And the point is, it doesn't fucking matter because it's YouTube and we talk about music, and y'all motherfuckers want to get all dramatic about shit that don't matter. Such is life. The point is, from my perspective, what happens is this tag starts in December, and then like a whole bunch of other tags start. Now, even myself, I created one. I've done the prog or the progressive rock tag, and created those the past couple of years, and thanks to those who have done those. But what has happened, or what happens is, when January, February roll around, everybody and their third sister is doing the vinyl tags, which is amazing because there's so many new channels, there's so many people that you didn't know about, and I support and promote all of that. It just gets a little bit oversaturated in a good way, and then people forget about it. So I'm calling this the 2025 vinyl tag Reprise. If you know Reprise in music, that is sort of like the repeat, right? Or something that, a musical theme that repeats and comes back around in the musical sort of composition. So I think that is clever, and if you don't, I'm so sorry. So yeah, shout out to our boy Edwin for creating these questions. I don't know who's going to do it next year, don't really care. But he has 20 questions that date back to last December that I'm going to answer and show some records, and I hope you like the view here. We like to change it up a little bit. It's like, it's like YouTube is like the bedroom. You gotta switch it up, man. You gotta switch positions. You gotta keep it spicy. And since I'm not getting a whole lot of anything in the bedroom, I'll do my best to switch things on YouTube. So, without further ado, first question on the vinyl tag was and is the best purchase of 2024, new or old? Well, I kind of went back to my list of my favorite albums from 2024 and which ones now, 6 or 7 months after I made that list, what are the ones I'm going back to the most and that are sticking with me the most? And I went with this one because, well, I wanted to. And that's The Cure. I mean, so many people were talking about this when it came out, myself included. I think this was like my third or fourth favorite record of the year. Yeah, absolutely amazing. I love it. What was it? Songs of a Lost World? Something like that. Yeah, I mean, so many people, including myself, loved this record. It was their first in however many years. And it smoked, man. I love this record. And so looking back, maybe it wasn't my number one record of the year, but I think looking back, the record that I'm most grateful I purchased, if that makes any sense. Number two, I'm looking down to read the questions. Number two, an album that came out that's celebrating 50 years from 1974. So, so many classic albums from 1974. This is a record I grabbed because, well, I wanted to. How about that? And it's definitely one of my favorites. I don't do a lot of rankings, but certainly one of my favorites, and that is Queen 2. My favorite Queen record. For a long time, it was between this and Sheer Heart Attack, but I think ultimately this, in its kind of proggyism, has sort of taken it to the next level. Of course, you got like the white, the dark or the black side, or side white, side black. Ogre Battle is so classic, man. Father to Son's great. The Loser in the End, that was a Roger Taylor sung tune, I think. So many great tracks on here, but this is certainly in the heat of their heavy proggy era before they went super artsy a couple years later. But yeah, I'm going to go with Queen 2, my favorite Queen record and one of my favorite records from 1974. Number 3, an album that defines a genre. So this is funny because a couple times I've been describing artists and using a bunch of genre terms, and some people have been like, dude, like genres have gotten out of control. And I agree, but some stuff you just don't know how to sort of categorize. And for me, I'm going to go with this band. I don't talk about them a lot. They're probably the heaviest type of music that I listen to. So if you're not a fan of like heavy or extreme music, like might not consider this, but for me, they are the best at doing what they do really well, and that band is Between the Buried and Me from North Carolina. And I'm going to go with their 5th release, The Great Misdirect. This came out in 2009, I believe. A lot of people will sort of point to Colors as their magnum opus, and I cannot disagree with that. That is my favorite. In fact, when I saw them, they were touring that, and I think like they were in an opening band, and they just played that record, and that was it. That was their whole set. But this, to me, The Great Misdirect, in terms of a genre, this perfectly, I guess, categorizes technical, progressive, extreme metal. And everything about it. What makes it progressive? Well, you have some wild and crazy odd time signatures. You have stylistically, the music is changing every 4 bars. You got everything from the most brutal, death metal type metalcore stuff going on, all the way to like circus music. In fact, I mean, one of the genres that they'll call in this is like avant-garde metal. So yeah, I love Between the Buried and Me. They got a new record coming out in November, I think. I'm excited for. But I'm going to go with the Great Misdirect, because I feel it is most out there and sort of typifies this whole genre of technical, progressive, death metal, avant-garde metal. You know what I'm getting at. Kind of out there stuff. Okay, cool. Next question. Question number 4. Best band from your home country. Well, you know what? They're the best band because they're my favorite band from Ohio, and I love these guys, and I love their story, and it's been cool to get a chance to connect with some of the band members. But I'm going to go, of course, with Blue Ash from Youngstown, Ohio. No more, no less. I'm from Columbus. I'm from Ohio. I live in Columbus. I'm from Ohio. I'm repping the shirt here. I want to talk about an Ohio band, and my favorite Ohio band is Blue Ash. This record came out in 1973. In my opinion, a top 5 power pop album of all time. Absolutely incredible. If you like the Raspberries, Cheap Trick, Big Star, Badfinger, all that type of stuff, you'll love Blue Ash. Absolutely outstanding. And they're going to be my pick for the best band from my home country, or my home state, if that. All right, number 5, an artist that you miss dearly. Well, so many artists that we have lost and continue to lose. I mean, that's kind of the heartbreak of being in love with so many bands that, and artists that are so much older, right? If I love a band from the 60s or the 70s, like these people are getting up there in their 80s. And so, at the time of recording this, we just last week lost Brian Wilson and Sly Stone. So it was a tough week, but the artist I'm going to go with, simply because, well, A, he's one of my favorite artists of all time, but B, I feel like I would pay all the money in the world to get his commentary on the state of socio-political affairs in 2025. And of course, that's Frank Zappa. Lost him in the early 90s to cancer. Showing this record, Frank Zappa meets the Mothers of Prevention. If you don't know, this is around the time that he was testifying against the PMRC, led by, was it Tipper Gore? Is her name fucking Tipper? Ugh. Anyway, I would just love to hear Frank talk about the sad state of affairs that the world is in right now. What's funny, though, is if you go back and watch any of those Frank Zappa interviews, or times that he was on TV, or things that he wrote in liner notes, all of it has come true tenfold. So once again, Frank Zappa, not only is he a musical genius, I think he was ahead of the game in a lot of different ways. Okay, next question, I believe, is focused on a live album. The best live album in your collection. Well, I know there's so many classics that you can go for to, but this to me is what has always personally meant the most to me. And I think, they're my favorite band of all time. And I think if somebody's trying to tiptoe into the band and they say, what's the record where I get a little bit of everything? I would cheat and give them a live record. But I'm going to go with Score from Dream Theater, the 4 LP, 3-hour-long live show that they recorded back in 2005. whole, I guess, second part of the show is with the Octavarium Orchestra. And so you get some orchestral elements there. But this is just an incredible live set. It's at Radio City Music Hall. The band's in perfect form. And it sort of encapsulates all of the eras of their career, from the earliest recordings all the way to what was going on in 2005. So this is my favorite band of all time. And this is probably like the record that I feel most perfectly sums up everything about them. So yeah, I'm going to go with Score from Dream Theater. Next one, your partner just dumped you. That happens more than I would like to admit. What album are you listening to? Well, I am a huge fan of depressing music, and so when bad shit in my life happens, I can't help but want to listen to more sad music. And this might be a new edition, but I don't care. It's just the best. But I'm going to go with Ghosteen from Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds from 2019. Thematically different. I mean, he was talking about like losing his kids and all that type of stuff, and I'm talking about getting dumped by, somebody. But the point is, this is just such an emotional wreck of an album in an artistically beautiful way. So I've talked about Ghosteen a lot, but if you don't know this record, you owe it to yourself to at least listen to it. I'm not saying you're going to love it, but listen to it and just kind of block out everything else. Maybe headphones are the best way, but yeah, I'm going Ghosteen from Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. Next question. This is a cool one here. The best sounding drums on an album. I always thought this album sounded incredible. In fact, I had a MoFi of it, and that sounded great. But I was also like, you know what? Like, I don't think it needs it. Like, I think an original sounds fine. The originals aren't that expensive. But I'm going to go with Love Over Gold by Dire Straits, my favorite Dire Straits record, mostly carried by Telegraph Road. And that's, of course, the song I'm going to be talking about for how good the drums sound on Telegraph Road. That whole sort of long, winding intro, and then when those drums kick in, beautiful. So, yeah, I mean, I've always loved the way this record has sounded in so many ways, above maybe some of their other albums. And so I think, the sound of it, the production of it, I think plays a role into why I like it so much. Okay, favorite artist who is a member of two or more bands. So I was thinking about this recently. I'm going to give it to this guy because he was in a band in the mid to late 90s, from the mid 90s to the late 90s, early 2000s, called Spock's Beard. He then left Spock's Beard, spent some time in some progressive rock supergroups. He joined a bunch of other progressive rock supergroups. He did his own solo stuff. He did his own band stuff. He started a bunch of other bands. But the person I'm going to talk about is Neil Morse. This is such a fascinating, interesting relationship I have with this guy. That sounds a little, you know what I mean. I truly believe everything that this man touches, like, turns to gold. Like, everything he touches. This record I'm showing you right now is a Christian rock worship record called Testimony. I mean, look at this fucking guy. If he ain't calling for Jesus, I don't know who is. But I love it. And so, like, this is like his solo stuff, but then he's got a million other projects with a million other people, and everything that he touches, whether it's Flying Colors or the Neil Morse Band or Transatlantic or his solo stuff or Cosmic Cathedral or Neil Morse and the Resonance, like all these different things, he just got a way he's got a way about him, and it just blows my little fucking coconut all the time. So yeah, Neil Morse is my guy. Look, if he can force me to, like, enjoy some of this, like, worshipy Christian Jesus stuff, then he is doing the Lord's work. Ain't that right? Okay, next question. I think, is this the Beatles or Stones one? Beatles or Stones. All right, so we're going to do a little battle of 1968 here. What's it going to be? Is it going to be Beggar's Banquet, the Stones? Is it going to be Beatles with the White Album? Well, I love both of these bands, and it's a personal question, right? Like, I love them both. I am going to go with the Beatles, though. I like the Beatles more, although an argument could definitely be made that the Rolling Stones have had a better career, simply because the Beatles' career was, 6 years and change. So, yeah, I mean, I love both bands, but I think for the music that I like and gravitate towards, the creativity, the expression, the studio work, the melodies, the harmonies, the songwriting, all that type of stuff to me was a Beatles thing. And that's no slouch against the Stones, man. I mean, they're incredibly influential in so many other ways too. But I'm going to go with the Beatles. All right. Here's a funny one. I do appreciate this. Here's a question. You found a bag of weed. What are you going to listen to? Well, believe it or not, I am not a partaker in the cannabis. Cheers. Mm-hmm. Certainly nothing against it. It is just not my bag, but I will share the first time I got high was with my brother. And this was back when I was in college. And he had records. He was collecting vinyl. I mean, this was back in 2013, 2014, something like that. He was collecting records all the way back then. And I think he only had a couple jazz records. And he was like, dude, here's what we got to do. We're going to smoke this shit and we're going to put on this record. I had no idea what it was. I just know that I was in the zone. And then 10 years later, when I started collecting records, I was like, that's one of the best records in the whole world. And that record was Herbie Hancock and Headhunters. What is this, 1973? Look, Herbie Hancock is the GOAT. I mean, that guy can do anything. He is like right in his like funky fusion wild world right here. But yeah, as soon as that starts going, whoo, boy, was I getting ripped out of my face. So yeah, I don't really smoke a whole lot these days. But I do remember the first time, and we listened to that record, and it was one of the greatest experiences of my life. All right, an album from the 1980s that you still listen to. I mean, I listened to plenty of shit from the 80s. I love the 80s, man, but this is a record I'm pulling out, giggity. And that's going to be Kate Bush, The Dreaming. I love Kate Bush, man. I need more Kate Bush. I only have, I think, 3 of her records. But, of everything I've heard, I love this one the most. It's so just quirky and out there and so expressive and creative. Nothing else sounds like Kate Bush at all. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Kate Bush and The Dreaming. What an album that is. I mean, I know she's gotten the big leg up because of the whole Stranger Things thing, but let me tell y'all, that's a great fucking record if you don't know it. Okay. Okay, an artist whose political stance has soured you. An interesting question. I know a lot of people on YouTube don't want to get into politics, and I get that. I do not stray away from it because I believe art and politics are interconnected. And this is kind of an interesting one because it's not like this person changed, right? Like, there's some of these artists that, like, we loved them for 50 years, and then we found out that they're, like, a bigot, and we don't like them anymore. This artist didn't change. Okay, well, let me just show. I'm not trying to explain, but I guess the artist I'm going to go with here is Skynyrd. And it's kind of a complicated relationship because I don't know to the extent that these people were actually this way, or if they're just kind of playing a persona, right? You got the Skynyrd, you got the Sweet Home Alabama, you got the Southern Man coming from Neil Young, and then they're like, we're going to double down on Alabama, as if anybody's ever felt good about being from Alabama. And look, I love the music of Leonard Skynyrd. I really do. I mean, is it kind of bizarre that they've like been trucking the last like 40 years with kind of a fake lineup? Maybe, but like people got to get paid, so I get that. The thing is though, is they have totally like leaned in to this whole like Southern Confederacy thing that, again, I don't know if that's just the shtick because that's what their fans are into, or if they actually feel that way. In fact, isn't like Ricky Medlock like Native American anyway? So I'm sure he has some feelings about the Confederacy. But the point is, people, is it's just so funny because I'm sitting here and I was like, man, I rip out to Freebird all the damn time. But then you get to a point where, it's like later in like the 2000s, they were doing like the God and Guns tour because Obama made a comment about God and Guns. And then like they're still flying this Confederate flag at all their shows and calling it like the Real America tour. Like all this type of bullshit, right? And it's like so funny because, yeah, like when I listen to this record, which this is an incredible record in so many ways. It's like I'm sitting there listening to Freebird and just like ripping. I'm like, this is one of the best songs ever. And I was like, Freebird. And it's like, who wasn't too free? The Slaves. That's okay. They're doubling down. So that's what I'm going with. There's your answer to that question, I guess. Okay. Show a favorite record label. Well, those who know me know that this is going to be my favorite label for sure. And that's going to be Colemine Records out of Loveland, Ohio. Colemine Records, as well as Karma Chief Records and Remind, specialize in a variety of music, but mostly a lot of the sort of neo and throwback funky soul stuff, R&B, all that type of stuff. Showing this record here because this is one of my favorite artists on the Colemine label. This is Black Market Brass, a heroic dose of hallucinatory Afro psych. If that's the shit you're into, check out this. This is called Hoax or Hawks. This is an out there fucking record. That's amazing. But showing this especially too because I order from them so much that sometimes they'll slip in a little gift for me, which was a little test pressing of a 45 from that record, which is really cool. So yeah, I mean, I love Colemine. People who know me know it too. But if you're into like soul music and you're wondering where all of it's at, go to Colemine. Okay, next question. A run of 3 great singles. I don't have a lot of 45s to actually show the singles themselves, but I'm going to show this record because I don't really give a fuck. Def Leppard Hysteria. Now I know the hard rock historic Def Leppard fans who like live in High and Dry and On Through the Night and all that type of stuff. Like, you don't like this record. I get it. This was like Def Leppard goes pop. I understand that. But recognize something. 1987. This record hit right here. 7 singles came off of this record. 7 motherfucking singles came off this record. 6 of them hit the top 20 in the US. 6 of them hit the top 20. That's pretty absurd for like at this time like a pop glam metal hard rock band. So yeah, I don't have like the the 45s or the actual singles for these, but I'm just gonna point it out here. 6 or 7 singles, 6 of them were the top 20. Ironically enough, the one that did not land in the top 20 was the first single that came from the record, which was a terrible decision, but we make our own beds, right? Next question is about an RSD title that we still actually listen to. And I just listened to this the other day and kind of forgot it was an RSD title. I'm going to go with Gong. Gong in the 70s. I'm a big fan of Gong, but their stuff is hard to find. And to me, like, this is the sweet spot, that like 71 to kind of like 75 range when Steve Hillage was in the band, just ripping sauce. This is some out there stuff. You got some squeak squonking sax with a little bit of flute. A lot of proggy stuff, some really psychedelic spacey stuff that's out there. If you know Gong, you know what you're getting into. If you don't know Gong, it's kind of hard because they're a little bit out there. But I actually love this record a lot too. It's a double record and kind of a compilation that sort of touches on a lot of those different areas. So you get some of that super spacey psychedelic stuff, but then you also get some squeak squonk and proggy stuff, which is pretty sweet too. So yeah, Gong in the 70s, RSD, that I still listen to. Dead or alive, or I'm sorry, you can be reincarnated as any artist, dead or alive. Who is it going to be? I'm going to go with my man Warren Zevon. Why? Because I felt this motherfucker was always having a good time. I just, like, live, studio, and interviews. I mean, granted, he was an addict, which is no fun, drank a lot, but he just, to me, like, look at this picture too. Like, to me, I'm just like, he's the coolest person ever. Like, I want to be him. Sexy, cool. He was just dope. I don't know. There's no other way to say it. Like, that's it. I just want to be Warren Zevon. 3 lines of lyrics that are super cool. So, a lyric question. I'm going to go to one of my favorite albums of all time, from one of my favorite bands of all time, Counting Crows, August and Everything After, and the song Raining in Baltimore, that has the line, there's things I remember, there's things I forget, I miss you, I guess that I should, 3,500 miles away, but what would you change if you could? Raining in Baltimore, man, that's a total tearjerker, but I love it all the same. An album that you never tire of. This might throw some people off, but I fucking love Meatloaf, Bad Out of Hell. I've heard this album probably more than any other album in the world. But every time, this is like my comfort album. This is like, okay, go back to Old Faithful. You're having a day. Don't get all like into your head. Just go and listen to fucking Meatloaf. And I do. And it's great. So I know people poo-poo on Meatloaf. But that's because you don't have taste, people. All right. And last question. Share your favorite VC channel. There are so many. And I'm going to mention somebody who is not like a friend of mine, because I feel like if I mentioned like a friend, then that includes all the friends, and I would feel bad about not mentioning somebody. But I think when I watch some VC channels, I am trying to learn. And this guy is like an educator. Like, I swear he's a professor or something, because his videos are so informative. And I'm like, where do you even get this stuff? But I don't think he even knows who I am. So cool. But like, I'm going to go with Michael P. Dawson. If you do not know Michael P. Dawson, he is the man. And like I said, he's like basically like, his videos are like a lecture, not in like a boring way. Like, they're super informative and super entertaining and engaging. He knows so much stuff that I'm like, where'd you even read this? Every time I watch a video of his, I feel like I learned like 6 things and I just sat through class. So that's a shout out to Michael P. Dawson. And also another shout out to Edwin. Edwin, thanks for doing this a long time ago. And also for putting up with some of the trolls who gave you shit for it. You know, that's what people do, I guess. But yeah, hey, if you're interested in jumping back on this, we're in the middle of June at the time of recording. Feel free to jump back on, man. Like, these threads don't expire, you know? It's not milk, okay? They don't expire, unlike all of us, all right? Cheers, everyone. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one. Take care.